"What, you and your new pet having a bonding session?" Rebecca shouted, afloat in air far away, with another twirl of her finger. "Rosara Costis!" she shouted out. "Maxi maximize!" As whirls of water began to form in the air around her, turning into bubbles, large floating orbs of water, which began to one after another propel themselves at great speed towards me, as suddenly a massive beat of the wings on my back set me flying through the air, reeling upwards into the sky, once again quickly avoiding the impact of those spheres of water hitting the shoulder of the creature with a large explosion. For a moment I was wondering how damaging water could be, till I saw the sizable chunk that bubble of water tore out of that creature's shoulder. It was at that point the creature began to whirl around, its right arm beginning to reach back, attempting to grasp me. In the beginning, I was fairly intimidated by this thing, but now that I wasn't ground-bound, its intimidation factor shrunk, especially considering its speed. It's not very fast, as the wings began to propel me through the air rapidly, bolting down towards Rebecca's location, easily weaving my way past the arm as it swung by, my wings furling up as I did a barrel roll past it. I don't know what compelled me, but I bothered to take a slash at it. It was just a handheld sword. It wasn't like I was going to be able to cut through it, or do any serious damage. It was basically just a reflex shot. So, while I was in the middle of the barrel roll, I slashed out at the arm I was passing by, and as I finally came out of the barrel roll, holding the sword aloft, I noticed its form. When I first grabbed it, it was solid, but as I came out of the barrel roll and stared at it, I suddenly noticed that the blade itself seemed to be shifting, as if it had taken liquid state for a moment, warping ever so gently and now taking back its solid shape. What in the world? I thought as I stared at the blade for a second, before I noticed the arm of the creature bisect itself, severing off at the point where I had slashed at it, the segment of arm and hand falling to the ground, clattering with a large impact, sending up dirt and debris around the location where it fell. Holy crap! That actually worked? How did that actually work? And in the instant, I was reminded of when the liquid metal creature that I had created did that whipping thing, where it cut off the creature's arm. Did that just happen? Is that what I did? No, Keven. It was the creature, Nylea replied. Remember, that blade that you're holding might look and feel like one of your regular liquid metal creations. However, it's still part of the entity, subject to its will, not yours. You may have made the attack, but that full effect was the result of the creature utilizing its mastery of the liquid metal. By the looks of it, in the moment that you slashed, it used a technique much the same as the one that it first used to cut the creature's arm off. It simply used the angle, momentum, and force that you created with your swing as a baseline for how the attack should function. The creature is reading you, your intent, will, and desire, and fulfilling it. You might say amplifying it. Think of it this way. If you go to throw a punch, or in this case swing a sword, you fulfill the task of swinging a sword, and the creature's abilities and intellect on top of it add sort of a multiplier. Like, say, the force of your swing was 50, and the creature added a times 10 multiplier to it, using its mastery of the liquid metal, its own body. I'm actually rather impressed. In our previous tests, the liquid metal creatures that we created were able to facilitate will quite effectively, much more so than the regular liquid steel. but the effects were never this strong. It's most likely the sheer amount that you imbibed with life that's creating these incredibly powerful effects. Yeah, call it whatever you want, Nylea. It's just cool, I thought to myself as I turned around, bolting through the air, still headed for Rebecca, who once again pulled that blade of hers. Asgard! She exclaimed, as once again that pink, extended blade of light protruded itself from the dagger-like form she was wielding. As I closed in, slashing out with the sword, colliding with Rebecca for only a moment as she parried me off, rapidly moving to the side, the wings giving a heavy flap in order to stop my movement for a moment, before the wings gave a large flap once more, propelling me towards Rebecca, at which point a mid-air fight began. We began slashing at each other back and forth, making attacks one after the other, as our blades clashed against each other. At first, I was a bit worried that the blade might try to pull that same trick that it did with the arm of the creature, chopper in two. Luckily enough, that didn't happen, but I suppose it wouldn't. After all, I don't want to kill her. It reads my intent, I thought as I continued my conflict with Rebecca. And as I did, I very quickly began to notice the difference. It was in fact an exceptionally strange feeling. Normally, whenever I manipulated the liquid steel, I always had to focus. While it was exceptionally powerful and useful, the concentration limited me in terms of what I could do. It was exceptionally taxing to try to move the liquid steel and move about freely myself. Honestly, the more I tried to divide my attention between the two, the slower each became. If I wanted to control the liquid steel at full force, I had to stop what I was doing and put everything into concentration. And if I wanted to move and attack myself at full force, full speed and reflexes, then I had to stop manipulating the liquid steel and focus on that. But this creature just threw a whole new arc into the ballgame. With these wings carrying me around, I thought I might have to give direction to the creature in order to be able to know where to fly and how to move, what I was going to do. But it seemed to be able to read my intentions, even my reflexes. In fact, it almost felt as if the wings were mine, as if I were controlling them. In the back of my mind, I knew it wasn't true. The creature's in control of them, not me. And yet, movement with them just felt so natural. I didn't really have to focus on it. They seemed to respond to every instinct. If I wanted to move in close, the wings would simply beat in a way that would press me forward, rapidly. And the same held true for any type of movement. Can this thing really read my intent and will so clearly? I thought to myself as I continued to battle Rebecca mid-air, darting around from location to location, exchanging slashes. As I did, the arms that the creature had created on the exterior of my form would also make attacks of their own that would build on the attacks that I made. If I made an overhead attack, they would try to capitalize on it by making a sweeping attack from below. No normal human would have been able to counter it. However, Rebecca seemed to be able to. Her reflexes were on point, definitely inhuman. Not only blocking my immediate slash, but the follow-up punches that came after it, using that pink blade of hers to parry them off, or dodging with rapid blurs of pink light, leaving trails and echoes, after images from where she was. Even mid-air, she moved exceptionally quickly. All the while, that enormous stone Goliath would lumberingly and slowly swing those towers of arms in my direction, which was never a danger to Rebecca, who in these moments would simply disappear in a flash of pink, leaving me to deal with the arms. As they came in, I would have to dodge out of the way, But Rebecca wasn't stupid. She noticed my speed, and so she was getting better at keeping me still, trying to hold my attention in conflict, fighting harder, and trying to maintain keeping my position locked down for longer amounts of time, allowing the arm to get closer in before she would dissipate away, giving me less and less time to evade with each corresponding swing. It was getting closer to hitting me.